From a title shot to the prelims, Viviane Araujo is looking to reset her career. She's going to be jumping all the way up from the top to now facing the number 15 contender in the women's flyweight division in Amanda Ribas. And for Ribas, she was supposed to compete back in December. She was supposed to take on Tracy Cortez. And on, what was it, fight day or the day before the fight fell out. Ribas was in attendance, and ultimately they managed this fight and throw it together. So now Ribas has a great opportunity to jump the queue and get closer up to that title that for now, before Saturday, Valentina Shevchenko has it, but she's going to be defending it against Alexa Grasso. And that's where you have to talk about it, because Matt, back last year, Viviane Araujo, in October, she took on Alexa Grasso. Now, were the title connotations? Manon Fiorot was floating out there.
It didn't seem like there was at the time.
You didn't have the rise of Blanchfield, but Blanchfield was on the way up. But if you look at that one, a poster fight, Grasso Araujo. And it was a really good fight. It was a really competitive fight as well. Now, numbers on a page, 50-45 and 249-46s. But we even said going into that one, A, wouldn't be surprised if it ended that way. And B, after the fight, we said, well, a lot of those rounds could have gone either way. And that was the thing with the scoring. They really could have. It was either 2-2 going into the fifth or 3-1 for Grasso. So it could really vary on the scoring. But the thing that I liked out of Viviane Araujo in that matchup and going back and watching it was, okay, always loses second rounds. Did she lose the second round against Grasso? Yeah, she did. Always loses second rounds. But she didn't just fall off a cliff with everything. Her output stayed consistent, second round apart, but first round, third round, fourth round, fifth round, Araujo had really good accuracy. Now, she did struggle with some of the volume on the outside from somebody like Grasso, but apart from that, Araujo fought a pretty darn good fight. The weird thing is they're going to bill her as a finisher, even though her last fight, 7 fights have been by decision, but she did have that crazy knockout win in her debut against Talita Bernardo, who has heated up of late.
Viviane Araujo is the OG Anunoby of the women's flyweight division, and let me explain to you why. OG Anunoby's a great basketball player. Like, he's a really good three-point shooter. He's a really good defender. But he's kind of mechanical. Like, when he dribbles the basketball, he has a dribble package, but he just, like, goes between the legs, behind his back, between the legs. Like, that's not being fluid with your dribbling like a guy like Stephen Curry, who can just put together moves as he thinks about it. That's my problem with Viviane in a lot of her career. She is a great striker, technique-wise. She is even decent defensively, but she tends to throw very similar combinations constantly, and everything she does is very consistent, but it is somewhat predictable, and that's why we have seen fighters who can fight on the outside, who either have a ton of experience or some of those longer range weapons, like of course Alexa Grasso possesses. They have been able to have success against a fighter like Araujo, and it has been a bit of a curiosity, because I always thought it was a shame that Raoni Barcelos wasn't about 4 years younger. You know, he's a great fighter, he's got all the skills. It just came to the UFC when he was like in his mid-30s, and it sucks that we missed out on him in his physical prime. And for Araujo, I feel a little bit the same way. She's 36 years old now.
Not a shop-worn, though.
Not a shop-worn, that is a good point, but still not a fighter that you would say is in her physical prime. Now, not a lot of huge punchers in this division. I would say she is still a big puncher, even though you bring it up. Not necessarily the biggest finisher of all time. They are going to promote that wild finish quite a bit, but I do like the overall striking of Araujo. And the thing about Ribas, if you do want to bring up a weakness, is her defensive striking is quite poor. When she does throw a lot of her own combinations, it's with her hands down. And the thing about Ribas is, what she likes to do is throw a body kick. And her body kicks are great. She is a great kicker, but she doesn't kick with her hands up. She doesn't kick all the time off a combination like a Robert Whittaker. She will throw naked kicks to the leg and to the body, and she can be countered with big punches off of that. And I could see a world where Ribas is throwing a lot of leg kicks, gets very complacent with her placement of those kicks, and then all of a sudden, Araujo is able to land a big right hand over the top and hurt her. Because even in the Vita Jandiroba fight, she got hurt in that fight too by a jab.
She got dropped in that fight, and then she moved back up to flyweight. Now, Ribas has UFC experience at flyweight. She did fight
Van Zandt was there
against Paige Van Zandt. That was a flyweight fight, and she was able to go out there and get the win in that one. And if you go down through Ribas' overall record, she fought Poliana Viana in a Jungle Fight Strawweight Championship, where Viana went out there and put it down. That's a really, really fun fight to go back and watch. Obviously, Ribas has that UFC debut. She finishes Emily Whitmire. Then she beats Mackenzie Dern. That surprised a lot of people. She fought Randa Marcos. People might go, ho-hum, Randa Marcos. You win one, you lose one. 30-26 and 2 30-25s. Ribas was all over that one. Good. And if you do look at it for both of these women, you might go, okay, Araujo's a puncher. She doesn't really grapple. She's not really that. She's not really this. 90% takedown defense in the UFC, but the only people that have really gone for the takedown against her, Montana De La Rosa went 1 of 6 on her takedown attempts, and Andrea Lee went 1 of 2. So that's it.
Not big wrestlers.
That 90% is nice, but it has to be explained to go through it. Ribas could go out there, try and mix it up that way. Ribas, again, I do this because she ducks in that pocket. She gets a real mean scrunch to her face, and then she starts
It's like John Lineker, but without the crazy power on the other end.
But when she does it, if you look at her fight, when she took on Marina Rodriguez, she gets cracked, and it's one of the weirdest non-stoppages we've ever seen.
She got knocked out twice.
It's kind of like the Kai Kara France fight against Cody Garbrandt. Herb runs in there, and then he's right there, like about to touch him, but he doesn't. And then Kai lands another shot, and that's the end of the fight. Same thing, only he did kind of get in there. And then Rodriguez walks away, and he's like, no, the fight's still going. And she has to go back in and finish her again.
She did.
So Ribas beats Jandy Doba, and then her last time out, she moves up to flyweight. She's unranked, and she fights the #1 contender in Caitlin Chookagian.
Made a good account of herself, I thought, too.
Fight of the night, and Ribas rallies in the 3rd round and wins it against Chookagian. So a good thing to see from Ribas. That fight against Chookagian was some time ago now, so it was early on last year. For Araujo, her last fight against Alexa Grasso, like I said, back in October. So when you do consider this fight all said and done, both women very adept at striking. Ribas for this one, training at Academia Ribas, not an American top team. For Araujo, Serrato MMA, Vicente Luque's out of that gym, Coach Serrato as well. You have a look at the odds. Slight favorite is Ribas, slight underdog is Araujo. We have a look at the fan vote on Tapology, Matt. The fans are wild. They're all going to pick Ribas. I'm going to say over-under 70% Ribas.
I think it'll be under. I do.
And it's over because they're wild. 1,414 total votes, 76% Ribas, 85% by decision. For the 24% that have Araujo, 77% by decision.
I say under because I think this is a very close fight. Now, I will be honest, I still favor Amanda Ribas in the matchup, and that is my overall prediction, but I see this as like a 55-45 kind of a matchup because I don't know if Ribas is going to be able to hurt Araujo. I think she can outstrike her on the outside. I think she can implement some of her kicks, have good volume, so with the takedown, and that's why I pick her in this fight, but it's a dangerous fight, and I was going to come in here and say, oh, Araujo's a finisher, and you are right. She isn't necessarily a finisher, but with Ribas showing the susceptibility to getting dropped in the past, if Vina can drop you with a jab, Araujo can knock you out with an overhand. So I favor Ribas, but I admit it's a very dangerous fight for her.
You know what? If Vina brought in like Trevor Peek to teach her striking, Vina could be the next champion at strawweight.
That overhand hammer fist is one of the more lethal strikes you'll ever see.
We have a look at this matchup. For me, I ever so slightly have Amanda Ribas in the matchup. I think the varied attack can bring her the victory. But folks, this is very, very close and very volatile. So make a pick at your own discretion. It's a really tough read on this one. Some big-time fights, Matt, on this card. The GOAT, John Jones. He's taking on Ciryl Gane in the main event for the heavyweight title. You're not going to want to miss it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say. Let's get into it.